To our virtual back to school night. Mrs. Nilsson had an unexpected emergency pop up, so unfortunately she can't be here, so I will have to do my best to explain both sides as well as I can. I want to start by talking a little bit about our curriculum. I'm going to start with the English Language Arts side. For English Language Arts, we use a program called Amplify. Amplify splits English Language Arts into two different subjects or strands: skills and knowledge. In the skills strand, students are working on those skills that become building blocks of reading. So phonics, decoding, grammar, things like that. As part of our skills strand, we have weekly spelling words. Those will start up next week. We will have weekly spelling words, and those words will all have similar spelling patterns based on whatever spelling rules and patterns we are learning about in the curriculum that week. I will put those spelling words in our weekly newsletters so that you have access to them. If you are not getting our weekly newsletters, please make sure that you call over to the junior high. They will be able to update your PowerSchool contact information and make sure that your email is correct so that you are getting those. All right, lost my train of thought for a minute there. We were talking about skills and our spelling words. I'm going to try to have my spelling tests be every Monday. They should be every Monday. But Amplify is designed for a 5-day school week, and we are only here 4 days of the week. So there are times when I'm going to have to kind of finagle things and move things around, and that means that there are times that I will be ahead in the spelling words of where we are in the rest of the curriculum. When that happens, we'll just stop spelling for a week and let the rest of the curriculum catch up. So every once in a while, not very often, but every once in a while, there will be a week where we have no English spelling words. And if that happens, that information will be in the newsletter. In our knowledge strand of our English Language Arts curriculum, that deals mostly with reading comprehension. So in knowledge, in our knowledge lessons, I read a story aloud, and then we'll do some kind of activity that allows students to dive deeper into the text and into the content of the text. The content of those texts are usually social studies standards. So social studies will be taught in conjunction with the knowledge strand. If there are ever social studies standards that are not addressed in knowledge, we will supplement with extra social studies lessons. There are also some knowledge texts, some domains in the knowledge unit that are science related, that cover science standards. But there's not a whole lot of science in knowledge, so we will do a lot of supplementing with science and adding in extra science lessons, but those will largely be done in Spanish. Most of science will be taught in Spanish. This year is particularly challenging. We have a shorter day this year, so we don't have as much time to teach all of the content that we need. And we also have extra restrictions and guidelines in place in keeping with the CDC's recommendations. So I know that Mrs. Nilsson will not be able to do as many fun hands-on activities with science as she would like to. Mrs. Nilsson loves teaching science. It's her favorite to teach, and she does a lot of very fun interactive science lessons. This year we might not be able to do all of that, but I know she's working very hard to make the lessons as fun and engaging as she can, and to be able to fit all of them into our very limited time. All right, let's talk about Mrs. Nilsson's class for a little bit. So she will do science in her class. She will also do math. All math will be taught in Spanish and reinforced in English. So she will teach the math concepts, and I will teach vocabulary. So they have the vocabulary in both English and Spanish. And I'll reinforce any part of the concept that students are not understanding as well in English. But math is primarily taught in Spanish. We have a new math curriculum this year that is called iReady. iReady follows a 3-step process: try it, discuss it, and connect it. This is a little bit different. This way of thinking about math that iReady employs is different than what most of you, and definitely what most of us teachers, are probably familiar with. Historically, in math, a teacher will teach an algorithm and explain how to use the algorithm. iReady does not follow this. So iReady's first step in Try It will present students with a problem, and then students are responsible for solving that problem using their own methods. So they're responsible for figuring out the problem by themselves for the first little bit. This lets them kind of dive into it, and instead of just memorizing an algorithm, they have to be able to think about the problem itself and how to best solve it. After students have tried it, we move on to discuss it. iReady is very discussion-based, and that discussion is very important for understanding math. Here at ALA, we grade on a mastery rating scale. That means that instead of receiving a percentage as a grade, your student will receive a rating on a scale of 1 to 4. 1 being that they cannot do it at all, 2 being that they can do it with lots of support, 3 being that they can mostly do it by themselves, but they might need a hand up here or there, and 4 being that they can do it so well, they could teach it to someone else. So the discussion part of iReady really helps with that 4th mastery level, because it requires students to verbalize their thinking and explain why their method works. When we discuss it, we'll discuss as a whole class. We'll talk about all of the different methods that students used during the Try It phase, and we'll talk about why they did or didn't work, and we will push students to explain and to really verbalize that thinking to hit those deeper levels of understanding. Last is Connect It. In Connect It, we take everything that we talked about in that discussion and talk about how to apply it to future problems. This worked for this problem, how will that work in this next problem? We also talk about how to use that in real-life scenarios and real-life problems. All right, in Spanish, you will also be learning Spanish language arts. And Mrs. Nilsson does a fantastic job with her Spanish curriculum. She does a lot of fun things to teach these kids Spanish. She does a lot of activities and movement, and I hear lots of dancing. Her Spanish lessons are a blast, and it's really fun for those kids. For her Spanish lessons, she will also, just like in English, she will also have weekly spelling/vocabulary words. I will put those on the newsletter as well. With her spelling and vocabulary words, her tests, I know she's trying also to make sure that they are all on Monday, but there may be times when it is pushed back a day or two. With those spelling words, there may be a week where you have the same spelling words as the week previous in Spanish. Repetition is crucial in learning a second language. The more you repeat something, the better it sticks in your brain, especially with a new language. So Mrs. Nilsson does a lot of repeating. If you ever have the same spelling words, Spanish spelling words, 2 weeks in a row, don't worry, it's probably not a mistake. It probably just means that Mrs. Nilsson saw that the students needed more time to practice and repeat those words. All right, I want to talk about homework also. So homework for my class, for Miss Hill's English side, you will have 2 items that are handed out to students every single Monday. So every single Monday, your child will receive a reading log and a fluency page. These will not be due back to me until the following Monday. So on our reading log, I'm going to step forward so you can see that a little bit better. There are some things on this that you do not need to fill out. I do want you to give me the date and how many minutes each day your child read. I want them to read 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You're going to tell me how many minutes they read. There is a start page and end page if your child is reading a novel or something, a longer book, but you do not have to fill out those 2 sections. I'm not worried about how many pages your child read. I'm more concerned about the time. I don't care if they read 40 pages in that 15 minutes or if they only get through 5 pages. As long as they are reading for the full 15 minutes, That is all I'm worried about. Make sure you initial too, so I know that you know that they are doing their reading. With their reading, I've given them free choice on what to read. I'm not requiring that they read something specific for those 15 minutes that are required each day. I don't care what they are reading, as long as they are reading. I don't care if they're reading a video game manual or Charles Dickens or a comic book. As long as they are reading something, it will count towards that 15 minutes. The second piece of homework that your child will receive every Monday is a fluency page. In my newsletter earlier this week, I sent out a video explaining how these fluency pages will work. They're very simple. You will have your child read this story that is on the page, and you will mark any words that they are unable to read, so any words that they miss. Time them for 1 minute. When that 1 minute is up, you're going to total up how many words they read. Off on the side, there are some numbers. Those numbers tell you how many words are in that line. So if you look at this line that my finger is on, it ends in the word house. That means the word house, if they read to the word house, they read 51 words. If they read to the word your, they only read 50 words. If they got to this on the next line, it would be 52. On the back, there is a little chart where you will fill out how many words they were able to read correctly in 1 minute. So you'll subtract any words that they made a mistake on. Make sure you do this 5 times throughout the week. Typically, it's better if you do it once a day, Monday through Friday, but if you have to double up on some days, that's fine. The goal with the fluency page is that every time your child reads it, they do a little bit better. All right, so with the homework, again, they will be given that every single Monday. They will be given a new reading log and a new fluency passage. And they will return their old reading log and fluency passage to me. All right, in Spanish, in Mrs. Nilsson's class, she will send home Spanish words for you to practice with. And again, I will put them on the newsletter as well. And she will also be sending home math worksheets. Those are usually pretty simple worksheets for you to work through. However, the math worksheets will be in Spanish. So for those of you, those parents that do not speak English, helping your child with math can be a little tricky because it's in Spanish. Also, helping your child in Spanish is tricky if you do not speak Spanish. So if you need extra help on pronouncing something, or you forgot what something means, or you don't understand what the math worksheet is asking you to do, our Google Classroom that we have set up for our online students this year is a wonderful resource for you. I want to talk about our Google Classroom and show you how it's set up a little bit. So if you do decide to do online at any point, or if we do have to go online, or if you just need extra help with a single assignment, you know how to find it and what to do. So I'm going to jump on to my computer so I can share my screen with you and show you what our Google Classroom is going to look like. All right, so getting into Google Classroom, it is important that you are signed in to your child's Google account. So to change Google accounts, it's going to be this button right here. Make sure you sign in with their email and password from last year. If you no longer remember their email and password from last year, if you don't have it anymore, or if you're new to the school and haven't received a school email and password yet, let us know. We're trying to send them out to everyone, but it's a tall order with how many we have, so let us know if you need it first, and then we'll work on getting everyone, even those that haven't asked. All right, so Google Classroom. There are 2 different ways to get to Google Classroom. You can type in classroom.google.com. But the simpler way is this icon right here. When you click on Google Apps, one of the options will be Classroom. It has this image of a chalkboard on it. So when you click on that, your child has already been invited to Mrs. Nilsson and I's class. So you will only have one of these, dual immersion green or dual immersion red, depending on which class your child is in. So when you click on the class, it will take you to the stream or the home page. Mrs. Nelson and I will post announcements in here every once in a while, but the place that you're going to spend most of your time in Google Classroom is this tab that says Classwork. Our classwork is split into subjects. So first we have all of Mrs. Nelson's Spanish videos, and then the math videos, skills, knowledge, science, and then fluency is the homework for English. As a second grade team, we have worked together to create content for our Google Classroom. So you will have different teachers on each of those subjects. Mrs. Nilsson will be teaching all of the Spanish lessons. All of the math lessons will be taught by Mrs. Gardner. So if you are struggling with helping your child with their math homework, you'll want to click on whatever math lesson was assigned that day. There will be a video and then some kind of assignment in each lesson. So when you click on this video, it'll open up in a new tab, and you will be able to watch Mrs. Gardner's lesson in English. You can also click on this PDF so that you can see what your child's worksheet says in English instead of Spanish. And then with Mrs. Nilsson's Spanish lessons, those are a good resource for those of you that do not speak Spanish that want to be able to help your children in Spanish more often. You can watch her videos and see how she is pronouncing things. In skills will be taught by Mrs. Warren, another second grade teacher. And knowledge will be taught by me. So it's me in all of the knowledge videos, and science is Miss Schuler. So in the Google Classroom assignments, let's grab one of our skills ones. Again, there will always be a video for you to watch of whatever teacher is teaching that subject, and then there are some worksheets for you to work on. But instead of printing them out and writing on them and sending us pictures, because that's a pain for you and for us, we are using the grading system Kami. So Kami should already be installed on any school Chromebooks, and it's easy to install if you are using a personal computer. When you open up those PDFs, you'll want to go up to where it says Open With, and click on Annotate with Kami. When you annotate with Kami, it'll take it just a minute to pull up. It will let you manipulate the PDF and add to the PDF. There are a couple different tools that you can use to do so. It's being slow today, sorry. One that you will use most often if you are ever doing online is this text box feature that will allow you to type. I'm going to put my name at the very top. And you can change the font size and color on that one. Another one that will be used fairly often is this drawing tool. You can change the color and the thickness. And that will allow you have to hold down the left hand mouse as you're drawing. If you ever make a mistake and decide you don't want something there that you put there, you can erase it. Another thing we might use is shapes. This is especially helpful for assignments like this where it's multiple choice, where you can just circle the right answer. An easier way to circle it. We'll use that a lot in math when we start talking about geometry and shapes in math as well. When you are done with the online worksheet, there will be a turn in button up here, and you can turn it in. And that way I can see how you've changed the PDF and grade it from there. In Google Classroom, every single day, there will be one Spanish lesson, one math lesson, one skills lesson, one knowledge lesson, and then science will be every Tuesday and Thursday. And there may be the odd Tuesday or Thursday where there is no science. So science you'll have to kind of watch for. And we'll do our best to notify you when there isn't going to be a science lesson on a Tuesday or a Thursday. And then, of course, fluency that only has to be turned in once a week. All right. that is all for Google Classroom for right now, I think. If you do decide to go online, or if we are forced to close again, please let us know if you have any questions about how our Google Classroom works. We are happy to answer any questions. We know it was a rough transition last year because nobody was ready for it, but we have had time to prepare this year, and we are feeling much more confident and comfortable with our skills with it. So please let us know if there are questions. All right, we have talked a lot about curriculum. Let's talk about our classrooms and how they're set up. Mrs. Nilsson and I have the exact same set of rules in both of our classrooms. And those rules are: follow directions the first time, keep your hands, feet, and other objects to yourself, respect yourself, others, and others' property, do not interrupt when someone is speaking, if you have something to say, raise your hand, and always tell the truth. In my classroom, I have a reward system for when students are following the rules. I have a list of all students, and there are 25 boxes next to each name. When I notice that a student is on task and is following all classroom rules and all of my directions, I will give them a check mark next to their name. When they fill out all 25 boxes, they will get to pick a prize. So they can sit in our yoga ball chair that I have in our classroom. They can sit in a cushioned chair. They can use one of my colorful pens all day instead of their pencil. They can pick a prize from my prize box, or they can bring a stuffed animal buddy to school. However, when they are not behaving and not on task, I use a 2-warning system. So how that works is they will get 2 warnings. When I first notice the misbehavior, I'll give them 1 warning. If they have not fixed it, I will give them a 2nd warning. If they have still not fixed it, I will give them a 3rd warning. When they get a 3rd warning, that is a strike. When a student receives a strike, they will miss a little bit of recess time because they will spend the first few minutes of recess writing an apology letter to whoever they hurt or disrespected with their behavior. If they get 3 strikes in a day, then I will send a letter home to you, a letter or an email home to you. I also have a whole class reward system. So if the whole class is staying on task and is behaving phenomenally, they will get rewarded for it. But if the whole class is off task and is not following classroom rules, there will be consequences. So how that works with my whole class, I have 2 of these large vases that are labeled honey. Probably can't see that in the video. I have honeybees all over my classroom. You can see I have my learning targets, my objectives are on those hexagons. I have lots of bees in my classroom. So our reward system for our whole class is called honey. How that works, it's not actual honey, it's just these little mermaid tears. How that works is if the whole class is behaving and doing really, really well, they will get a scoop of honey in the jar. But if the whole class is off task, then I will take a scoop of honey out of the jar. So I have 1 of these for each class, a green one and a red one. When the class fills the jar all the way up to the top, we'll get a whole class reward. So that might be me bringing a treat for everyone, or extra recess time for a week, or maybe even a short movie. We'll decide, the class will get to vote on what they want their whole class to be when we fill up the jar. I know that Mrs. Nilsson has a similar behavior system in her classroom, but I don't know all the specifics of it, and I don't want to speak for her when she's not here. So I'm going to move on to our next subject since I can't speak for her. I want to talk about our specialties. We are so excited that we will still be able to do specialties this year with a few minor adjustments. Students will be able to do computers, PE, and library. With library, in keeping with CDC guidelines, we will not have baggy books this year. There will be no baggy books in order to help prevent the spread of germs. Another big thing in our school to help prevent the spread of germs is that masks are required. Your student must wear a mask unless they have a medical reason not to with the proper documentation. Recently, we received further guidelines from the health department and other state officials stating that face shields are no longer considered proper protective equipment. So, if your child chooses to wear a face shield, much like this one, they will need to also wear a mask. So we cannot have a face shield without the mask. They must wear a mask and a face shield, or just a mask is fine as well. Please make sure that you send your child with a mask every day. If your child forgets or loses their mask or it falls and gets dirty, we have extras that they can borrow. Also in keeping with CDC guidelines and preventing the spread of germs, water fountains are no longer allowed. Students may not drink from water fountains. They may only be used to fill up water bottles. Please make sure you are sending your child with a water bottle to school every single day, because that is the only way that they can drink throughout the day. Mrs. Nilsson and I do have some extra water bottles, but we are going through them much too quickly, much more quickly than we can replace them. So please make sure that you are sending your child with a water bottle. All right, the last thing I want to say is thank you. Thank you so much for entrusting Mrs. Nilsson and I with your child's education this year. We love them so much already and are so thrilled to have them in our classes, and we cannot wait to work with you to help them grow. We are so excited for the growth that we know that we'll see this year, and we can't wait to work with you and with them further. Please do not hesitate. If you have questions or concerns about anything, please do not hesitate to let us know. When you have questions, please make sure that you email both of us. Even if it's a very specific question about, say, a Spanish lesson, and you know that only Mrs. Nilsson can really answer it, we still want to both be included in any emails, as it helps us stay in the loop and get that information immediately so that we can better help you in the future.